This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. More families in Wisconsin are taking exemptions for routine childhood vaccinations than most other states. The state immunization program says about 85% of Wisconsin kindergarten students are up to date on their measles, mumps, and rubella shots. The national average is closer to 93%. A bail hearing today in Manitowoc in the case of a couple from Two Rivers charged in the death of her 3-year-old son, Elijah Vu. Manitowoc County District Attorney Jacqueline Labrie.
While I will not comment further on the details of the case, I assure you that we remain committed to working with law enforcement to hold those responsible for his death accountable.
Katrina Bauer is charged with chronic child neglect causing death and obstructing an officer. Jesse Vang is charged with child abuse and hiding a corpse. Wisconsin's unemployment rate is holding steady. The Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development says the state's jobless rate was 2.9% in September. Kamala Harris is warning Wisconsin supporters of what she calls the serious consequences if Donald Trump returns to the presidency, especially since the U.S. Supreme Court granted Trump broad criminal immunity.
Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails, right? He who has vowed if reelected, he will be a dictator on day one.
Harris was in Milwaukee, La Crosse, and Green Bay yesterday. Groups are asking the Wisconsin Attorney General to look into intimidating text messages sent to young adults about voting around the state. Molly Carmichael is a recent college graduate and a member of the League of Women Voters.
Right off the bat, I was pretty upset because I figured this was also going out to other people, maybe people who have never voted before and are excited to vote.
Jay Heck of Common Cause says he thinks most won't fall for it.
I think younger people, by and large, are less susceptible to some of this stuff that they see in the texts that they get because they're just more used to social media.
The texts warn of fines or jail time for breaking election laws. Critics say the intent is to scare young people into not voting. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WXCO News, I'm Brittany Merlot. High winds paired with drought conditions are taking over the state today, putting our area in a high fire danger. This means that even a cigarette butt tossed into the grass or woods could start a wildfire.
Right now, we're just happen to be at a time where we don't have enough rain. So just sort of a little bit of a dry spell. So that's really what's going on right now is it's a dry spell. This week, we actually have had a couple fires started from mowing operations, so it has to be pretty dry before that can cause a wildfire. So it's kind of where we are.
That's Amy Penn with the Wisconsin DNR. Winds are gusting up to 30 miles per hour and can rapidly spread a spark.
We've got dry leaves, the things are drying out in the woods. But before the snow falls, there's this period, again, where we tend to have elevated fires, whether that's from people burning debris or warming fires when hunting, using equipment. There are a lot of causes, but number one cause is debris burning. The second cause is usually equipment.
The Mosinee School District is going to a referendum. They're asking voters for $19.75 million to modernize the middle and high school buildings. They want to update and add to the career and technical education learning areas and create a secure entrance to the high school. The biggest projects would be the construction of the new locker rooms, kitchen, and cafeteria. And the existing spaces will be converted into extra learning areas and a community fitness center. As far as tax impact, estimations show that a $17 increase annually for every $100,000 worth of property value. And this week is an ideal time to remind all women 40 and over to set aside time for an annual mammogram. Mammograms can detect tumors that are still too tiny to feel, so cancer can be identified before symptoms even start. This gives women a crucial head start on finding breast cancer early when treatment is most effective. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime, and today marks National Mammogram Day. Prostate cancer is one of the most common cancers affecting men, but it also has one of the highest survival rates among all cancers. Screening is important because prostate cancer can often develop without noticeable symptoms. testing for this cancer usually starts around age 50, unless you have a family history. Zohair Ghanem is an MD, internal medicine physician, and oncologist at Aspirus Health. He says treatment options vary.
Some patients, we just observe them and watch them without active treatment. Some patients need surgery, some patients need radiation therapy, and some patients need even chemotherapy.
He says early detection can significantly impact overall outcomes and well-being.
I wish more men knew the importance of early detection on the overall outcome and well-being.
Some symptoms to look out for.
Patients have some pelvic pain, lower back pain, blood in the urine, or maybe just discomfort with urination.
Almost 8 months to the day after his disappearance, charges have been filed in the death of 3-year-old Elijah Vu. Manitowoc County District Attorney Jacqueline Labrie said Vu's mother is charged with chronic neglect of a child causing death, child neglect, and obstructing an officer. Her boyfriend is charged with physical abuse of a child, repeat acts, causing death, hiding a corpse, and obstruction of an officer.
This is an incredibly tragic situation that has shaken our community.
Vang and Bauer will have initial appearances and bail set today. And Wisconsin motorists can support the Sandhill Crane and the endangered Whooping Crane with a new license plate from the Department of Transportation. The International Crane Foundation in Baraboo will receive a tax-deductible donation of $25 for each plate. That funding will support 2 key projects: continued efforts to reintroduce the Whooping Crane and resolution of crop damage caused by Sandhill cranes. You can order these plates online. And that's what you need to know. I'm Brittany Merlot for WXCO.
The Bucks lose in Dallas. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Bucks lost their final preseason game to the Mavericks 109-84. Doc Rivers says it was important for the younger players like A.J. Johnson to get in some playing time with their veterans.
I look at A.J. Johnson. He struggled a little bit today. All that is good for him. All the minutes are good. I thought there are spurts or moments tonight where you can see where all of them at different points can play. But for all of them, they just have to learn that you're going to play with Dame and Giannis, Brooke and Bobby and Chris Middleton. They all have to learn how to play with stars.
The Bucs season openers next Wednesday night in Philly against the 76ers. College football, the Wisconsin Badgers head to Evanston to play Northwestern tomorrow at 11 a.m. On Sunday, the Packers host the Houston Texans. Rich Bisaccia asked, what does he like about their new veteran kicker, Brandon McManus?
I mean, what's not to like? You know, he's got a lot of skins on the wall. He's been in a lot of pressure situations. He's had kicks in the Super Bowl. He's played in cold weather. He's played in hot weather. So he's had a lot of experiences kicking in a lot of different climates, at a lot of different places. And, he's been successful for a long time. So we're glad we got him right now.
That's Packers special team coordinator Rich Bisaccia with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Grey's Anatomy is in its 21st season, if you can believe that. How do you keep a show on the air that long? You change cast members, often to keep it fresh. Grey's has announced Sophia Bush will join the cast in a recurring role as a trauma surgeon. The One Tree Hill and Chicago PD actress will make her first appearance this season in episode 6. Bush has also been busy with a One Tree Hill sequel, which is in the works. In yesterday's beats, I mentioned that Al Pacino almost didn't get the part of Michael Corleone in The Godfather, and then was in constant fear of being replaced by the studio. More from Al Pacino's memoir, which is about to hit shelves, or iPads, has Pacino sharing that between takes while filming the opening wedding scene, he and co-star Diane Keaton were laughing at how they thought they were ruining their careers by doing the film. They both agreed they were part of the worst movie ever made. Al was eventually in the worst movie ever made, but it wasn't until 2011, and it's called Jack and Jill. Sonny Boy, a memoir, is available October 22nd. Bad news from the world of pop music as One Direction's Liam Payne died after a fall from a third-story balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Payne was discovered while performing in front of Simon Cowell on the show The X Factor, which led him to the band One Direction. Liam Payne was just 31 years old. Saturday Night Live's 50th season is off to a roaring start. A little extra hype thanks to the movie Saturday Night, which tells the story about the moments leading up to the first broadcast of the show in 1975, is probably not hurting. The show's October 12th episode drew its highest ratings in over 3 years with host Ariana Grande and musical act Stevie Nicks. NBC reports that the show pulled in over 5.5 million viewers for the actual episode and a true 516 million views on social media. The first show of the season, featuring Gene Smart as the host and Jelly Roll, brought in the biggest numbers for a season opener since 2020. 50 years is not a bad run. Headed to the theater this weekend? Only a few films open in wide release, but 2 of them are re-releases. The first one is Back to the Future Part 2, starring Michael J. Fox. Many people think the second installment was better than the original and is much better than the third one. The film is being released in honor of its 35th anniversary. anniversary. Another re-release hitting the screens this weekend is Hocus Pocus. The 1993 film stars Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker. Although critics were lukewarm on it initially, it did very well with audiences and has great performances by its cast. If you're up for some scares, check out Smile 2, yet another horror film that is, so far anyway, critically acclaimed with an 82% on Rotten Tomatoes. And if you're lucky enough to live in a town where a theater is showing Goodrich, you can check out some good old-fashioned comedy drama starring Michael Keaton. The film is not yet reviewed, but could be the perfect recipe if you're tired of being freaked out all month. Let's go to the movies. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mostly sunny and still a little breezy today. We'll get to the upper 60s for a high this afternoon. Tonight, mostly clear with a low dropping into the low 40s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, high in the upper 60s to near 70. Then by Sunday, sunshine with a high back into the mid to upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it's 42.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.